Hasn't been long for the athletes to draw breath between qualifying and semi-finals. This is the sprint category for sitting, standing and vision impaired athletes in the cross country, and very much looking forward to this next stanza of the day's competition into the semi-finals for the sitting athletes, men first of all, and a select group of spectators allowed in, and they'll be in for some fine entertainment in the next few minutes, that's for sure. We've got the two men's sitting semis to come, then the standing categories, and then the vision impaired. Semi-finals ×2 for each, and then we'll be into the finals. 6 gold medals to be decided. Equal opportunities in competition for the men and the women, as it should be, of course.
Yep, really busy day of racing here at the Zhangjiakou National Biathlon Centre. 24 races all in, if we include the qualifiers, the semi-finals and the gold medal events to come a little bit later. Quick fire here, the sprint races. And we saw a really fast time from Zheng Peng in the men's sitting category, 2:14.17. Chinese squad have been really quick over the course of the week of Paris snow sports here at these Paralympic Winter Games, and the temperature just keeps rising up to a heady 9 degrees now up in the mountains of Zhangjiakou.
That's not going to keep the snow in great order, but we'll get across the line with these games, I'm sure, here at Zhangjiakou. And the first of the semi-finals about to come. You will mention Zheng Peng as the top qualifier. Just an explanation down the right there. The starting order is determined by their classification, and so it will be the first 3 across the line, because the time factoring has been considered in their start time. So that makes it a more exciting finish. And just a word on Zheng, he did make the semi-finals 4 years ago, but finished 5th in that second semi-final in Pyeongchang, so missed the final. But here's a chance for him to make amends right here, right now, alongside Romele, Westermeyer, Ribera, Pike, Liu and Rad in this first semi-final. So Zheng will go away with the 12-second advantage over Romele. Westermeyer at 16 seconds, along with Pike, and at 22 seconds, Liu and Rad. And their bib numbers reflect what qualifier they were. Little fist bump there, nice to see, between Westermeyer, Ribera and Romele, Brazil and Italy. Rivals on the course, friends off it. That's the credo.
Yeah, Romele there. He was silver medalist in the middle distance race in the recent World Champs in Lillehammer. All about getting it right on the day, pacing yourself. But at bib 1, Zheng Peng, the 29-year-old gold medalist in the long distance event, second Paralympic Winter Games. One of the more seasoned athletes in this formidable Chinese delegation. So
Romele just asking the camera to get out of the way. It's coming. The start isn't far away. It's
in the zone now. No distractions needed, or required, or wanted.
So Zheng will go away first in bib number 1, then Romele in 8, Westermeyer Ribera in 5, Pike is in 12, Liu in 4, Rad is in 9. There's no confusion whatsoever amongst the athletes about how this is going to go.
So we're underway then in the first of two semi-finals in the men's sitting category. This is sprint racing. It's Zheng Peng of China. Quickest time, 2:14.17 with his factored time in qualifying. That is the mark to beat.
Rommel got away. Now Westermeyer, Ribera. Then Pike, Liu and Rad. So they're all out on the course. And it is Zheng who leads them. First three to go through.
Yeah, effectively a pursuit race here. The different sporting categorizations have determined the starting order. So Zheng Peng, 86% factored time. Just to sort of give you a layman's explanation, 2:36 was his real time in the qualifiers, but with that 86% factored time, that's down to 2:14.17, and that became the mark to beat. Colin Cameron's second quickest, by the way, and Mao Zhongwu, but Zheng still out in front here in this first semi.
Rommel is in pursuit, and then it's the Brazilian, the crazy pig, as he likes to be known, Christian Westermeyer Ribera. Pike is in 12, and 4 is Liu. And Rad making some progress up on the inside there. So according to their classifications, the field should compress, should Constantino back in again after that start. Made allowances for their classifications, but he's got a little bit of work to do, has Aaron Pike at the back of the field.
Yeah, Pike qualified in last place. He was the last of 12 to make it into the semis, 2:27 dead. So Zheng Peng still the athlete to catch here. You're watching the sitting, the semi-final sprint event. Men racing here, the women will come later. It's a busy day of racing at the Zhangjiakou National Biathlon Centre, but a red hot and exciting one. It's Zheng Peng still for China.
He's pushing hard into the straight. This course just under a kilometre, and it is the first three across the line. No factoring to be done once they get to the finish. And now they're starting to catch him. Closing in is Liu Shizhu of China in 4. Pike looks to be out of it at the rear of the field. Rommel has been passed, but Zheng is there. First three to go, and China will have a couple. Liu is there, and Rad makes it as well. Taras Rad. So there's the first of the semis. And now they'll instantly think about, okay, recover, get the right liquids inside, and think about the chance for a medal. Job done.
Yeah, Rommel misses out, Ribera misses out, Aaron Pike misses out. So 2 Chinese racers in this first semi-final go through. We've got 3 in the second, by the way. It could be another bumper day for China in terms of medals in the Nordic events here at Beijing 2022. Confirmation then. Zheng Peng, Liu Zhishu go through, and Taras Rad makes it as well, just ahead of Giuseppe Rommel. China and Ukraine into the semi-final in the men's sprint.
So we're just a couple of minutes away from the second semi. 2 Canadians, a Ukrainian, and 3 from China in this second one. Mao Zhongwu will lead them off from Derek Zaplatinsky of Canada, and then Colin Cameron. Only a 2-second gap between Mao and Zaplatinsky, then another 14 seconds back to Cameron and Baal of Ukraine. And the two Chinese competitors at the back of the field will go on 22 seconds, Wang and Zhu. And there is confirmation of that. Four men in their 30s and the two at the back in their mid-20s. Zaplatinsky, the 11th qualifier. That's why he's wearing 11. And there's a towering figure of Colin Cameron, Mr. Muscles. 7th qualifier, Pavlo Bal of Ukraine. Just visualizing a good lap, what he's got to do. And he's got to get home as one of the first three. That's the simple assignment. Gives the race a different complexion, doesn't it, with no factoring at the end, just at the start.
Yep. Staggered start. So it becomes something of a mini pursuit race, really. And makes for real great action down that final straight. So semi-final 2 is underway. Mao Zhongwu wearing big number 3 for China, with Wang Tao and Zhu Yunfeng to come later. Hot on the heels is Zaplatinsky, second off, and it'll be Cameron, who was second quickest behind Zheng Peng's qualifying time, to go thereafter. We have Pavlo Bal in the race 2 for Ukraine, but this is the second semi-final in the men's sitting sprint here at Beijing 2022.
So Cameron coming up to this left-hand bend and then the climb, just ahead of Pavlo Bal, who's trying to hold on to the Canadian. And he's digging in hard and powerfully is Cameron, second highest qualifier behind Zhang, who went in the first of the semis. But still Mao out in front. This is really slow, soft snow they're negotiating here.
Cameron makes it look so effortless, doesn't he? He's already a bronze medalist in the long distance category. The 33-year-old from Canmore, Alberta.
Comes up on the inside of Zaplatinsky and has got him covered, and will set out now after Mao Zhongwu. But if he knows he's in the top 3, and he maybe save a little bit of effort at the end. Mao has to be concerned about how fast they're catching him, but he was the 3rd fastest qualifier, and they look to have cleared out those two in Cameron and Mao.
Yeah, Cameron has Mao in his sights, no doubt about that. That's that sweeping right-hander. And then 11, that's Zaplatinsky, second Canadian in this race. 3 Chinese, remember, as well.
And this really is a race for the 3rd qualifying spot, because these two look to be doing it well enough. Cameron just careful there not to accidentally nudge Mao. He sort of pulled out of a push to make sure he didn't do that, and he is just rattling it in. Now Cameron, he's flying.
No nonsense, just swatted Mao Zhongwu aside on that corner. Indeed, careful to sort of not force the collision, but Mao just feeling the breath of Cameron on the back of his neck, and now Cameron has pushed way past, and he looks so in control, doesn't he, Colin Cameron? But it's Mao Zhongwu in second place, and the battle for 3rd and the last qualifying spot for the final is hotting up. Oh, Cameron can even afford a look over his shoulder. He's got it well under control.
Thought he might ease down to the line. He can afford to do that, but the race is for 3rd. Mao will get 2nd. Off to the left, it's Zhu. Will he get there?
It's Wang, I think. Oh, Wang's done it. 2 more Chinese qualify. Colin Cameron, though, that was an absolutely brilliant overtaking manoeuvre on Mao Zhongwu to take this 2nd semi-final.
I would love to have seen 3 go through the spectators here, but that's not going to be the case from the 2nd semi. But they have got 2 from the 1st, so they will have 4 in the final, along with Colin Cameron and Taras Rad. So we'll have confirmation of that for you in a moment. There it is, Cameron, too strong, too good, too quick. Mao and Wang claiming the other spots into the final for the sitting category for the men. That's great racing, isn't it? Love watching this. It's fascinating.
Fantastic scrap to the line, but Cameron, how smooth did he look there? Really did look good. So, confirmation then of our 4 Chinese qualifiers into the final of the men's sprint in the sitting category, plus Taras Rad and plus the impressive looking Colin Cameron.
Cameron and Rad qualifiers for the final 4 years ago. All right, let's keep it coming as we move across to the women's event.
First of 2 semi-finals. Same deal. Top 3 athletes move into the final. So on the start line, semi-final 1, 2 more Chinese racers in Ma Jing and Wang Shiyu. Plus we have the formidable United States duo of Gretsch and Masters, plus Indira Lisset, who qualified in last place, and representing South America, the brilliant Brazilian Aline dos Santos Rocha. So Ma Jing will be going off at the same time as Aline dos Santos Rocha, because they have the same sporting, the categorizations LW 10.5, and then 12 seconds later a 35-year-old Norwegian Indira Lisset. Kendall Gretsch 17 seconds down, Oksana Masters 7 seconds after that, along with Wang Shiyu.
So they're just about set to go. Masters has to go 24 seconds behind Ma. Setting up the Jaio chant in the stand. The Chinese spectators hoping for more good results here.
Yeah, we lost 6 athletes after that qualifier. Top 12 went through from that qualifying lap race.
Masters is the carryover champion from Pyeongchang.
Yeah, Oksana Masters, the defending Paralympic champion, defending world champion as well. From Lillehammer.
None of the other finalists from Pyeongchang are here. And away go the first 2. Ma and Dos Santos.
Yeah, so that's China versus Brazil, the first battle, the first story in this opening semi-final. Going to be great to see Masters and Gretsch give chase. Indira Lisset will struggle a little, I feel, here, but that's Masters getting away, wearing bib at number 13.
And Gretsch is in 16. Ahead of her.
So those 2 at the front of the field went off together, Ma Jing and Aline dos Santos Rocha. Masters, by the way, was quickest in the qualifying lap.
It's a really slow section of the course here, uphill. Snow giving way to the conditions. Gretsch and Masters starting to make real progress on the field here.
Yeah, that's Masters. Around on the outside, and she has Aline dos Santos Rocha and Ma Jing in her sights, and that's Lisset struggling a bit at the back of the field. And look at Masters powering on through into second place, away from the tracks as well. That lovely smooth action, poles into the snow, propulsion, and she drifts past Ma Jing as though she's not there. Oksana Masters looking absolutely magisterial again here in the women's sprints.
Gretsch keeping to the inside of the trail and followed there by Dos Santos Rocha. But it's all about Masters. Taking the wider line and covering a little bit more territory out there was Kendall Gretsch, but that's where she wanted to be, perhaps detecting better snow. And not for us to question what Gretsch does out on the track. She knows what she's doing, and she just corners away into second place there and nearly lost some balance, but looks like she's fine. Masters just dominating this first semi-final in the women's sprint setting.
Yeah, that's such a problematic hairpin, isn't it? It's where Cameron was able to take Zhang in that men's semi, but Masters, gold medal in the biathlon sprint, 2 silvers. They came in the middle distance biathlon and the long distance cross-country race, but Masters will be fighting it out again for another medal, and she will be the big favourite when we come to the final of this sprint event. She has absolutely blitzed it in this first semi-final. Oksana Masters over the line first to go through. Kendall Gretsch coming up as well. But this has been all about Masters, as we suspected it might have been.
She'll be boosted by Gretsch's performance here. She's going to come in second and make the final. So 2 from the US go through. And then there was Wang in 20. Who started at the back of the field with Masters, who managed to come through. Ma Jing just faded a little, and it was a tough semi for Indira Lisette of Norway. She's just making her way down to the line now.
Yeah, did well to make it into the semi-final full stop, did Indira Lisette. Over the line last in this first semi. So Masters and Gretsch 1 and 2. Nothing to suggest anyone can get amongst Masters and Gretsch in the hunt for medals in the sprint. A brilliant performance from Oksana Masters, rather like Cameron. And the men's semi looked in complete control, in hot pursuit of those who set off ahead of her, but no problem when it came down to it.
So there we have it. Masters, Gretsch and Wang Shiyu, United States and China, progressing to the final in the women's sprint, sitting out of that first semi. No joy there for Ma, Santos Rocha or Lisette. Second semi coming up in a moment. Here it is. Young and Lee and Chu for China. And then we've got Anja Vicker of Germany, Skarstein of Norway, and Picton of Canada. 3 more to go through. So Young goes at 0, 2 seconds behind her, Lee and Vicker. Then at 14 seconds goes Skarstein. And at 26 seconds, Picton and Chu.
Yeah, Li Pan there, the 30-year-old Chinese. Bronze in the long distance event.
Li Pan, second fastest qualifier behind Masters. Vicker was the 6th fastest qualifier. Smile never too far from her face. Just loves competing, as does Skarstein. Gotta love a happy athlete. Regardless of the outcome, it seems they can find the good side of things.
Canada's Picton Great to see her in this semi-final.
10th
qualifier
qualifier
for China.
Yeah. Sorry, 10th highest qualifier is Picton and Chu 11th. So it's a big task ahead of them to get through. But they might.
So, away goes bib number 15, Yang Hongzhong for China, and just 2 seconds back, it's Li Panpan, her compatriot, and Anya Vicker. Now then, we know that Vicker has a really strong finish in her. She produced a brilliant final, 200 meters or so to win bronze in the middle distance event in the biathlon. And there goes Vicker, chasing down those 2 Chinese at the head of the field, and then in hot pursuit, that's Skarstein of Norway.
So Yang and Li led them away. Vicker has just attached herself to the back of those 2 at the front. Now this is the testing section of this 1 lap. They come into some slow, slushy snow around this bend and up this climb that's about to confront them. And they really do need to dig in and push hard. It's not long to have to put up with it, but it has found a few out. Vicker taking the inside track there, hoping to come up beside Li Panpan.
Yeah, Vicker holding those 2 Chinese athletes just ahead of Li Panpan, and Yang Hongzhong, our race leader. Birgit Skarstein digging in, the 33-year-old, massively accomplished, a para-rowing champion in that particular summer sport discipline. She went 5 years unbeaten into the Tokyo Paralympics last year and then carried off the gold medal. Will she be in another Paralympic final, this time in the Winter Games in para cross country? It's still the Chinese leading the way. Yang and Li.
Yeah, Yang's holding that margin over Li. Vicker back into her rhythm, but they're starting to haul her in from behind as Skarstein and Picton and Chu see what they have to do. Top 3 only to go through. And Yang has cleared out somewhat over Li. Quite a gap back to Vicker, who keeps to the outside left.
Well, if they play their cards right here, China will have 3 of the 6 in the final, with Wang Shiyu's qualification from that first semi. But of course, Oksana Masters and Kendall Gretsch await in that final. Tight turn for Li Panpan there. And there's Vicker, but look at Skarstein right on her heels. And at 22, Picton as well.
Oh, the race for third is what we're focusing on now, as Yang and Li make their way into the straight. They look to be safe. Just a little look over the shoulder there for Yang to see where Li is, and the pursuers who are gathering in Vicker. It'll be Skarstein or Picton or Chu who gets that 3rd spot. That's the question.
Well, there goes Yang. Yeah, she could afford a little look over the shoulder. The gold medalist in the long distance event. Yang Hongzhong hitting the home straight. Great noise as well from the grandstand. So Li Panpan just behind as Skarstein come through.
Li is going to be under a little bit of pressure, perhaps, by the chasers. Maybe not. The finish line might be too close.
It's Picton.
Picton's taken Skarstein. Yang pushing down to the line. She'll be safe. Li will be as well. And it looks like Christina Picton of Canada.
So China 1, China 2, and Picton comes over for the Canadians.
Just ahead of Chu Bei.
What a finish from Chu, by the way.
Yes.
Just ran out of roads. Another 10 meters or so, and we'd have had another Chinese qualifier. But Picton makes it. Vicker faded, so too Skarstein, and it's China 1 and China 2. So with Wang, that will be 3 of the finalists from the home nation. Well, she led the whole way through, wire to wire. Yang Hongzhong And starting 2 seconds behind her, Li Pan did it as well. Picton made up all that time, started 26 seconds down, the Canadian, but qualifies for the final in 3rd place. So we know the identity now of the 6 athletes that will contest the medals in the women's sprint amongst the sitting athletes. Masters and Gretsch will go for the United States. The 3 Chinese, Li Pan, Yong Hongxiong and Wang Shiyu. And Christina Picton will look to replicate her fast finish when we get to the final. So more semi-finals to come in our other categories, the standing, the classification and the VI. First up is the men's standing. Of course, we're racing over the sprint distance here. China, Kazakhstan, Germany, United States and Japan are the nations involved here. Liu Xiaobin and Cai Jiayun. From the host nation, Alexander Gerlitz, Marco Meyer, those 2 with a medal already earlier in these games, Ruslan Reiter and Nita Yoshihiro. So it'll be Liu Xiaobin starting at 0. 2 finishes in the biathlon event so far. He was 13th in the sprint. And starting 9 seconds behind Liu is Alexander Gerlitz, bronze medalist already. And then Marco Meyer has a silver. The 22-year-old raced brilliantly in the biathlon sprint event. So we know that he has speed. And Cai Jiayun for China, also a silver medalist. That was in the long distance cross country. Ruslan Reiter qualified superbly for the United States. 2 biathlon finishes so far, 12th in both the sprint and the middle distance. And the veteran, that is Nita Yoshihiro, the 41-year-old, who has been racing for the best part of 2 decades now. A previous gold medalist in cross country at the Paralympic Winter Games. It's 12 years actually since he got his gold in the sprint in Vancouver. 12 years older, 12 years wiser. Can he do it again? The first of 2 semi-finals here about to get underway in the men's sprint amongst standing athletes.
So the course a little bit longer than for the sitting category, up towards 1.4 kilometres. And they'll whip around it in pretty smart fashion. There's no point holding back at this point.
Great shot there of the facility here with those ski jumping hills in the background. Produced tremendous excitement, 1 or 2 stories. And no little controversy as well in the Winter Games, just last month. And plenty of new chapters in Paralympic Winter Games history being written at the Zhangjiakou National Biathlon Centre here over the past few days. Terrific, exciting racing. Real crescendo finishing here being produced by the athletes. And we look for more of the same here in the men's sprint.
Meyer, the fastest qualifier, as Yu gets us away in the first of the semi-finals for the men's sprint. Then it'll be Gerlitz. And 2 seconds behind him, Meyer, Tsai, Reiter and Nita.
Yeah, there goes the Kazakhstani Gerlitz, bronze medal in the biathlon middle distance event. So they're all away racing. There's that big lead being enjoyed by Liu at present, but expect him to be reeled in. We're looking for the top 3 only to go through to the final from this first semi.
Liu was the 5th fastest qualifier, so he's some chance of making it through, even if a couple catch him. He's going to have to ski the race of his life here. A 9-second margin between him and Gerlitz at the start, and then the 4 that went on 11 seconds. Meyer, Tsai, Reiter and Nitta.
Yeah, Kai Jae-eun just moving up into 2nd place. 29 Liu still, but we can see the pursuit pack. That's Meyer up into 3rd, followed by Gerlitz. Meyer has moved into position here, just chasing down the 2 Chinese skiers. Coming around the bend there in 3rd place is Meyer.
He's well positioned, isn't he? He's got the other 2 in his sights, and as the leading qualifier, you'd expect him to be doing this. Go through comfortably.
Gone past Liu now. Has Kai in his sights. And now Gerlitz. Nicely positioned there on the outside as well. 36, that's Nitta Yoshihiro. A great competitor at 41, but you just wonder if there's the endurance, the stamina and the speed in those legs for that final surge that is required here to finish in the top 3.
Reiter towards the back of the field. He was the 9th qualifier. 32, there is Gerlitz.
And they pulled away.
They've got it sorted out pretty early, haven't they?
Yeah.
If it stays like this, they can comfortably see it home. Not particularly worry about which of the 3 finishes 1, 2, 3, as long as they go through.
Yeah, Liu has faded badly, so it's Kai, it's Meyer, it's Gerlitz here. And barring a catastrophe, you're looking there at our 3 qualifiers for the final from this first semi. Second lot of 6 are readying themselves to go in the second semi-final. But it's Kai, it's Meyer, it's Gerlitz. Just in pursuit there behind Nitta Yoshihiro, but he's got too much to do. So Kai roared on by the home faithful. Well, was that a little wave?
he's doing very well here.
Yeah.
It just seems like that Meyer is just going to coast in and just save a bit.
Easing up and enjoying the roar of the crowd. Kai Jae-eun to win this semi-final. And indeed, just coasting in and a nice little fist bump there from Meyer and Gerlitz. 2nd and 3rd qualifiers. Kai does it for China.
So China, Kazakhstan and Germany. Kai, Gerlitz and Meyer to go through to the final for the men's sprint freestyle standing.
Kai there started 11 seconds back with Marco Meyer, Nitta Yoshihiro, Ruslan Reiter. They all went off at the same time. Kai was the athlete who had the pace and had the speed. Meyer very much in control, decent race management. Oh, and you just mentioned it, doesn't matter about the order, does it? Just do what you need to do. Get that bare minimum finish.
It was bye-bye Kai as he went past his teammate there in Liu.
And why wouldn't you savour the moment? Just 21. And here these Chinese athletes are performing in front of their own supporters at the Paralympic Winter Games. China, Kazakhstan and Germany, 1, 2 and 3 are qualifiers. Our first 3 qualifiers for the men's sprint standing final.
Quite pleased with himself, Kai, and he's entitled to be, I guess, too, going through to a final. And now the second of the semis. And Koyoki Taiki of Japan, Wang of China, Davier of France, Vovoshinsky, Ukraine, Haugen of Norway, and Ehler of Germany.
Koyuki Taiki, already a gold medalist at these games. He won the long distance event. Can he make it a double? Well, has to win this first to be in with a fighting chance. Wang and Davier, hasn't quite happened yet for Benjamin Davier at these games. More than accomplished though, the 32-year-old. Vovchinski, the Ukrainian, already 2 medals, a gold and a silver. And Kjartan Haugen still doing it at age 47. Alexander Ayler, well, compared to Ayler, Haugen is a young gun. Ayler, 52, would you believe? 16th in the biathlon sprint.
Unusual split bronze medals 4 years ago in this category with Marko Rents and Ika Tuomisto of Finland, Marko Rents of Canada, but not to be seen here in this one. It's hard not to like Kawayoke, a young, enthusiastic Japanese skier. Already got a taste of victory. Can he just push through to a final? Kawayoke and Wang go on 0, then Davier, then Vovchinski, Haugen and Ayler. Away we go, second of the semis in the men's standing. Davier is on his way. And now Vovchinski, Haugen and Ayler complete the field, all going on 11 seconds. First 3 to go through. On the right there is Kawayoke of Japan. And to our left in 31, Wang Chenyang.
Yep, front 2, the 2 youngest in the field as well. At just 20, Wang Chenyang there, looking to hold off Kawayoke. 8th in the long distance events, the skier from Zhejiang. He was there in Pyeongchang 4 years ago. A 22nd in the sprint. Best finish was an 8th in the World Champs. That was 4 years ago in Finsterau, Germany, with a Chinese squad in the 4x2.5 relay. And Kawayoke has just been dropped as Davier pushes through the field.
Yeah, second fastest qualifier, Benjamin Davier, in a 2:44.59. So he has quickly gobbled up the field here, and they'll do well, I think, Kawayoke and Wang to hold on. Only half a second separated the Japanese and Chinese skiers in qualifying. But they're under pressure now from Vovchinski.
Yeah, Davier pulled out to a big lead. Look at that. Above his Chinese rival. Davier, the man who has scored 3 gold medals, 2 of them in biathlon 4 years ago in Pyeongchang, and he was with the French squad in the open 4x2.5 relay that took off the top title in Korea Republic as well in 2018. Here comes Vovchinski, the class of the 33-year-old pushing through, and the Ukrainian moves into second place ahead of Kawayoke at present, but it's Davier who leads, and leads comfortably.
Haugen of Norway also making an impression from the back there, but it's all about Davier. He's got this one safely in his keeping. Vovchinski looks to be secure as well, and Kawayoke coming under pressure from Haugen.
Vovchinski with a decent lead over the chasing athletes there. Kawayoke and Haugen. Ayler nowhere, by the way, at the back of the pack for Germany. Davier has managed this tremendously. He's going to qualify, but Vovchinski right up with him.
Vovchinski was a couple of seconds slower in qualifying, but might have been holding back there. Certainly in a good position here to go through with Davier, as Haugen has come through into 3rd position. I don't think there's much that enthusiastic Kawayoke can do about it.
Finishing straight then at the end of this second semi-final in the men's sprint for standing athletes. Vovchinski and Davier. You can go over first. No, you can, says one to the other, and it's going to be Davier from Vovchinski, and Haugen through for Norway at age 47. He will compete in another Paralympic Winter Games final. It's France, it's Ukraine, it's Norway who go through.
And Haugen had to push it really hard to keep Koyoki back in fourth position. Then came Ela and Wang. But coasting to the line were Davier and Wolczynski, trying to keep something in reserve for the big one. As the clouds gather a little over Zhangjiakou now, that was expected. There'd be a bit of a build-up, but not much weather in it in terms of precipitation. We certainly hope there's no rain, because it doesn't feel like it's going to snow. Too warm for that. Well, Davier made his move very early on. Try as they might, Koyoki and Wang couldn't hold them at bay. Yeah, so they're like two polite chipmunks there. You go. No, you go. Oh, I insist. No, you go.
Yeah, just doing the bare minimum. And you just said it, Steve, keeping plenty back for the big one later, the final. Confirmation then, Davier of France, Wolczynski of Ukraine, Haugen of Norway go through to the final from semi-final 2 in the men's sprint for standing athletes.
Meyer, Davier, Wolczynski, Tai, Gerlitz, Haugen. Be a good field. No time to be wasted. Into the equivalent women's event in the first of the semi-finals. Gives us athletes from China, Japan, Canada, Ukraine, USA and Poland. That's a good mix, isn't it? And all in their 20s, save Kononova, the experienced Ukrainian. Natalie Wilkie was the fastest qualifier, and she goes at 13 seconds. Zhao will lead them away. Abe Yurika was the 12th and last qualifier. Wilkie, all smiles, all confidence.
Yeah, Wilkie, the long distance gold medalist. Been a great games for her so far at just 21. And United States skier Dani Arovich. Iveta Faron got through, the 22-year-old from Nowy Targ in Poland. Abe Yurika starting 11 seconds behind Zhao Zhixing. Well, Zhao can do it in the sprint. She already has a bronze in the biathlon.
We're away. First of the semi-finals for the women. Freestyle, standing. And Zhao gets the Jai-O call from the crowd. See if they can get her home in this one. And again, it's the first three to go through. Abe, Wilkie, Kononova, Arovich and Farron all on the course now. 13 seconds between Zhao and the back three, the back four in fact. Wilkie, Kononova, Arovich and Farron all going on 13 seconds. So how long can Zhao hold them off?
Wilkie moving up into second place, effectively a pursuit race as they go after Zhao Zhixing there. Natalie Wilkie wearing bib at 37, that's 40. Kononova moving up into third place. Next challenger there, Iveta Faron wearing 45, but we're racing there with Zhao Zhixing. She knows this facility. She's from Zhangjiakou. She has trained here. She knows the snow. She knows the conditions, and with that medal already under her belt from earlier in these games, she's riding well here in this semi-final in the women's sprint.
So in single file, they make their way around this course. And it's still Zhao. Can hear the skis behind her though, and the closest of them, as expected, is Natalie Wilkie of Canada. joined by Kononova. And the two at the back of the field there, Arovic and Ferron, might be struggling to make an impression over the second half of the lap because they've cleared out. They're the same classification as Wilkie and Kononova. And hope, I suppose, the Zhao fades.
Yeah, that's the hope now for our back three athletes. Kononova just clinging on to third place at present. It's still Faron in pursuit. And then Arovic shutting her down. Kononova there, the Ukrainian, the 31-year-old, silver in the middle distance biathlon event.
Wilkie goes through, looking to just comfortably secure this place in the final. Who's to join her? Once you get a sense of the pace and the strategy of the race, then don't spend any more energy than you have to, with another really important 3 or so minutes in the final to come. And it's not that long in coming either. So recovery and keeping something in reserve, two really important considerations through this semi-final, as Wilkie just glances over the shoulder and sees that all is good.
Yeah, Canada have 3 gold medals in the Nordic events so far at Beijing 2022. Wilkie has one of them in good company with Mark Arentz and Brian McKeever. The legend McKeever, the others to stand atop of the podium. Wilkie bringing it home. Looks nice and comfortable here, the 21-year-old. And is going to be safely into the final of the sprint event for standing athletes. And Kononova moving up into second place, 12 years on from her gold in Vancouver, still doing it.
So Wilkie, a bronze medalist 4 years ago, behind Nilsson, and an NPA athlete. Again, the look over the shoulder, no problems really. Coasting down, just a training run, the back half of this lap. A little bit more urgent for those behind her. But Zhao is going to make it behind Kononova.
China have another finalist in Zhao Zhixing. Canada, Ukraine, and China then go through. It wasn't to be, sadly, for Dani Arovic, Abe Eureka, and Iveta Faron. Wilkie, 4:11, goes through at the quickest time from semi-final 1 here in the women's sprint.
It's significantly slower than the qualifying time of 3:11. That's real time 3:19, so a little bit of an adjustment there, but not much. That's they were really taking it easy over the latter stages.
Yeah, it was a slow semi-final, but they won't mind about that. Plenty of energy still to be expended, of course, in the one that matters a little later on this busy day of racing at Zhangjiakou.
Things are a little more uncertain in the qualifying stage. You really do need to go hard to make sure you make the semis. But Wilkie just coasting in 4:11 ahead of Kononova and Zhao to go through. Arovic, Ferron and Abe missing out.
So China and Ukraine already have guaranteed athletes in the final of the women's sprint. Will they be joined by Liashenko and or Guo, Li, and Huang. We've got Vilda Nilsson and Sydney Peterson as well here. It'll be Peterson to go off first, the 20-year-old Sydney Peterson, silver medalist in the long distance.
Nilsson and Peterson with the second and third fastest times through qualifying. Peterson some 3 seconds behind Nilsson's time. Nilsson, who did pick up the silver medal 4 years ago. Guo Yuji.
Well, she's one of the young stars of this Chinese team, no question about that, Guo. She won the sprint race in biathlon. Li Huiling wearing bib 46, wearing 47, that's Huang Bangjuan. 22 years of age from Guangzhou, and we are underway then in semi-final 2 in the women's sprint event for the standing athletes here at Beijing 2022. So it's Sydney Peterson away first at 0, and the rest of the field in pursuit, starting 16 seconds down. And there is that familiar roar from the home crowd, pushing on Guo and Li and Huang.
A little bit of a disadvantage for those at the back there. 5 going at 16 seconds and not room across the line for them all to be in line. So Peterson making her way through and up this first incline around the 1.4 kilometre circuit. Liashenko. And then that's Guo.
Yeah, Liashenko, one of the big favourites coming into this event. We knew that there'd be a strong challenge as well from the Nielsen, the world champion over the sprint distance from a home event in Lillehammer just 8 weeks ago. So that front 3 just racing together. Is somebody going to make a move? That's Vilde Nielsen, who's come past Sydney Peterson, and Liashenko just hassling and harrying in the background as well. Peterson, who went off first, has dropped into second place here, and Liashenko certainly has her in her sights, but it's Nielsen pushing on. You can see that lead over Peterson and Liashenko for the Norwegian now.
Yeah, Peterson just trying to tuck in, get some oxygen in the lungs, and try and keep a spot in the front 3. They do have quite a gap back to the 3 Chinese competitors in Guo, Li and Huang, but Guo closest of them, and as long as she can feel that there's a chance, she'll push it as hard as she can, Guo, as Liashenko moves up beside Peterson, might take her on this climb, should do. But it's Nielsen who's cleared out now.
Yeah, it's whether the Chinese have a finish in them, because there's a big gap now from the front 3 back to Guo, Li and Huang. Maybe Guo has something in the tank here. We know that she's a sprinter from her performance in the equivalent biathlon event earlier in these games, but is going to have to make a move sooner or later. Vilde Nielsen, the 21-year-old, leads the field here in this second semi-final in the women's sprint. There's Peterson tucking in, and Liashenko just in a slipstream. Of course, it is about just doing the bare minimum here and finishing amongst the top 3 places. Don't necessarily worry about winning it, just qualify.
Holding on very well is Peterson, 3rd fastest qualifier. It looked like she might have been fading, but she has done a good job to keep Liashenko at bay. And then how far behind is Guo? Possibly too far.
Yeah, really surprised about Guo Yuji in this race. Look at that gap. The 1, 2 and 3, they're all on their own as they enter the stadium section. We have our qualifiers. The Chinese have nothing.
Now, is Nielsen okay, or is she just holding something back here? Because Peterson has been able to move up almost beside her. She's got some stamina, must say, Sydney Peterson. And she's absolutely making sure of a top 3 spot by slotting in beside and behind Nielsen, and has got enough of the job done to just maybe coast in now. And these 3 have it comfortably. There is no point spending any more energy than necessary.
Nielsen from Peterson, and then Liashenko. They are our 1, 2, 3, and they will join Natalie Wilkie, Alexandra Kononova and Zhao Zhixing in the final of the women's sprint for standing athletes here. So 5 nations will be in the start gate in the final of this event. Ukraine with 2 in Lyashenko and Kononova. And we hear the roar for our final 3 finishers, all from China. Guo Yuzhi at 17. There is not to be a repeat of the heroics that she produced in the biathlon sprint. And Li Huiling and Huang Bangjuan over the line last here. It'll be a high-quality final, it really will, in the women's standing sprint.
Well, was Nilsson foxing? Was Peterson just making a little bit of a statement? Well, that'll be forgotten between now and then, as the final looms just a little bit later. We've got the vision-impaired semi-finals to come very soon. Nilsson checks the watch. Not sure why, really. The time doesn't matter, but she might have just want to know how it felt.
Nilsson, Peterson, Lyashenko are the 3 to go into the final from semi-final 2, joining Natalie Wilkie, Alexandra Kononova and Zhao Zhixing, who went through from the first semi. So Ukraine with 2 on the start line in the women's sprint final.
All right, let's turn our attention now to the vision-impaired races, men's and women's semi-finals to come. Now, smaller fields here because of the presence of the guides, so just 4 in each semi. Moden, Kovalevsky, Yu and Adakov. Sweden, Ukraine, China, USA in this first one. And Moden will go at 0. Kovalevsky and Yu at 19 seconds and Adakov at 21. And so it's just the first 2 that go through in this case.
Kovalevsky with his guide Alexandra Mushkin and Yu Shuang of China at just 18. 4th in the biathlon sprint event. Now then, Jake Adakov. Terrific qualifying time with his guide Sam Wood. He was quickest in 2:36.72, ahead even of Brian McKeever. Also has a medal earlier in these games, silver in the long distance. Adakov, does he have the burst of pace required to do it in the sprint?
Coming up to the scheduled start of 1 o'clock, which is still some 35 seconds away. Wouldn't expect them to let them go early. They do love to run an event on time here. Years ago, Moden won his semi.
So Sebastian Modin off first then, the bronze medalist in the long distance race. He's put Sweden on the medals board here in the Para-Nordic events at Beijing 2022, guided by Emil Johnson Haag. We're looking for 2 qualifiers from our field of 4 here in these 2 semi-finals in the men's sprint VI category.
Kovalevsky and Yu go at 19 seconds, and a couple of seconds behind them is Jake Adakov. of the United States. So it's Sweden, Ukraine, China and the USA. And Moden first out of the stadium and up and around to his left. Go Moden and Jonsen Haag, his guide. We get a little bit crowded here, and the athletes and guides have to be very careful not to cause a collision or be involved in one. Kovalevsky just sitting in behind Yu, and then it's Adakov catching them fairly quickly. Moden, powerful skier, strong thighs. He likes the shorter distances, can really go hard.
There's the lead at present for the first skier to leave the start gate, Sebastian Modin of Sweden. We wait for Jake Adakov to make his move. And there aren't that many opportunities to make your move in this sprint distance event. But here he comes round the back, just breathing down the neck now of Ya Chuang and Anatoly Kovalevsky, and we've a tumble. That's a real shame. Who's that at the back of the pack? That's Anatoly Kovalevsky. It's a real tangle there. Yu Shuang has got back on his feet, and Jake Adakov has managed to avoid that traffic.
But Yu has lost his guide, so that's a significant difficulty for the Chinese skier, because Wang Guanyu, the guide for Yu, was caught up in that collision, and we barely stopped discussing the possibility of it happening, and that's really not what we want to see. And unfortunately, that's what has happened, and it's had an influence over this race, particularly for Kovalevsky. Now Moden, pretty much unaware of what's happened behind him. He's only focusing on the job at hand, and that's to get there as one of the front two. Looks like he might be able to do that again, as he did 4 years ago. Just attaches himself to the pole of Jonsen Haag. And so it's going to work out, it would seem, okay for Adakov. But really unfortunate for Yu and Kovalevsky. Well, as you pointed out, there are not many opportunities to get past, and in one lap event, you almost have to take a risk to get that done.
Yeah. Kovalevsky is nowhere. It is just the top two to go through, so we're looking at our qualifiers. Yu Shuang battling on gamely without Wang Guanyu, his guide behind. But the top two here will be Jake Adakov and Sebastian Modin in this first semi-final over the sprint distance for the men's VI category. Adakov does it, and then thereafter Sebastian Modin, and a great recovery actually by Kovalevsky, but that collision ruined his race.
Yeah, hearts go out to Yu and Kovalevsky over that incident. It does happen. Just got to do your best to avoid it and recover as quickly as possible if it does. Fair competitor that he is, Kovalevsky goes around and congratulates his rivals and who've gone through in Moden and Adakov. All was fine at the start.
Yeah, it was just after the right-hander, wasn't it, that we saw that collision, clacking of skis as it all gets busy. Just to the right of your shot there. Oh, it's the guide, isn't it, of Yu Shuang, Wang Guanyu, who just collides with Anatoly Kovalevsky. That is so unfortunate and such a shame at such a big moment.
Really, that shouldn't have happened. I think that when it's, well, nobody meant it to happen, but it was, if you could go back and have that moment over again, I think the guide would have kept a little bit further off to the left as we saw them coming up the hill. But anyway, nobody meant that to happen, and it's very sad that it did. But Adakov and Moden go through. Second semi-final to come. We'll have France, Ukraine, Canada and Poland in this one. Chalençon, Słako, the great Brian McKeever, and Peter Gabowski of Poland. Good range of ages there, from 25 through to 48. Chalençon to go first. 19 seconds back to Słako, and McKeever and Gabowski as B3s will go at 21 seconds.
McKeever, the magic man, trying to prolong his golden goodbye. Already has a first place, another gold medal from a long distance event. Gabowski as well with his guide. Jakub Twardowski goes 21 seconds behind Anthony Chalençon, who will be our first starter for France. Canada, France, Ukraine, Poland on the start line here. McKeever, Chalençon, Słako, Gabowski, 2 from 4 who will join Jake Adikov and Sebastian Modin in the final of the men's sprint VI.
And away goes Anthony Chalençon with guide Bryce Ottanello in the second of the semi-finals. 2 to progress. Next it'll be Dmitry Słako of Ukraine. And he's away.
Yeah.
And just another 2 seconds delay for McKeever and Gabowski, and probably nothing more than a racing incident would stop McKeever going through.
Already starting his scythe through the field as Słako in his sights. Słako, 2 bronzes already from biathlon events, the sprint and the middle distance. Dmitry Słako for Ukraine, contributing to this fabulous, voluminous medal haul for the nation of Ukraine. It's great to see. You're watching the second semi-final in the men's sprint for vision-impaired athletes here in the para cross country at Beijing 2022.
And the field compacting, at least the back 3. And 4 years ago, Słako just missed out in his semi-final, finishing behind McKeever and Jake Adikov on that occasion in Pyeongchang. So looking for a top 2 finish here. 1:27 is Gabowski at the rear of the field. And here is Chalençon trying to make good at the front for France. There are the pursuers starting to gather him in.
Guided by Brice Ottanello, Anthony Chalençon, the 31-year-old. And here come the chasing pack, ominously closing in. And Brian McKeever has moved to the front of that chasing pack, just got the edge on Dmitry Słako there, who comes through with his guide Alexander Nikoniewicz. And then further down, it's Piotr Gabowski with Jakub Twardowski. So it's whether Chalençon can hold here. There'll be a big challenge from Słako and, of course, McKeever.
Up the hill goes Chalençon with Ottanello. Plenty of enthusiasm. Technique holding up. It's only a short race, remember, 1.4 Ks. Just make sure that his man doesn't ski off the track. Allowed to keep in touch with the stock on the downhill sections.
Yeah, this big, long downhill. A chance for speed before we see the stadium section and the run for home. Chalençon with a wire-to-wire performance here. He's done really well to hold.
Well, he's the 3rd fastest qualifier behind Adikov and McKeever, so perhaps we should expect him to see them off. It looks like Słako has detached himself from his guide in the background there, and McKeever coming through fairly strongly on the left of your picture there into the shade shortly. Not that far behind is Słako, but he looks to have given up the moment.
Yeah. Słako's thrown in the towel, hasn't he? It'll be Chalençon and Makiva, joining Jake Adikov and Sebastian Modin in the final of the sprint VI here. Chalençon, impressive, did well, held it. Could have heard those skis closing in. The skis belonging to Makiva behind. He finishes just 1.5 down in the end, Makiva, after a fast finish, but did enough here to get amongst the top two and qualify for yet another Winter Paralympic final. So Siarko just pulled up, and then Gabowski finishes 26.5 seconds behind Anthony Chalençon, our second semi-final winner.
Fresh territory really for Chalençon through to a final like this. Congratulations to him. He's got the 1-2-3 bib. And if he can finish 1, 2 or 3, it'll be a medal. But only 4 in the final. So it's Chalençon and Makiva going through from that second semi-final. Siarko missing out, unfortunately for him, a second time. And Peter Gabowski a fair way back. So there are your finalists for the vision impaired for the men. USA, Canada, France and Sweden. Will it be more gold for Makiva? The answer a little later.
So, quickly on to the women's VI over this sprint distance. Again, 2 semi-finals. Top 2 from both will move into the final.
They all start at the same time, all 4 athletes in the B2 classification of the vision impaired. Edlinger of Austria, Volta and Rechtenwald of Germany, and Sachenko of Ukraine.
Edlinger so fast in the qualifying round. Leonie Maria Volta has had a fabulous game so far, a pair of medals, including a gold. Her compatriot Rechtenwald goes as well in this race. Natalia Tkachenko as well of Ukraine. And by the way, there'll be Lynn Kazmaier as well, going in the second semi for Germany as well. So Denis Nikulin, the guide for Natalia Tkachenko, the 26-year-old.
Start time of 1:14 in the afternoon, just 20 seconds away. Again, a big thumbs up for the organisers here, keeping things exactly on track. Away they go then in the first of the semi-finals. Edlinger and Volta on the front row, followed by Rechtenwald and Sachenko. And Edlinger, who looked so impressive in qualifying, 2 seconds to the good of Kazmaier as the fastest qualifier. Edlinger, having had some bad luck in other events, looking for the big improvement and the much better result. Can she get through to the final? This is the first of the 2 semis. And Edlinger is in 1-3-1.
Who's going to make a move? Edlinger just has the head of the pack here. She won a bronze in the 7.5K Classic in Pyeongchang, one of 3 events in which she competed 4 years ago in the mountains up in Alpensia, and is entered for the biathlon events as well, but a couple of DNFs so far in the sprint and in the long distance in the cross country. But she's really got it together today, Karina Edlinger. But it's a real bunched field here in this first semi-final in the sprint VI for women. But it's still Edlinger holding off at 1:38 behind her. That's Natalia Tkachenko. And the 2 Germans have dropped to the back, Walter and Rechtenwald. But they'll have a finish in them.
Tachenko is the 8th fastest qualifier, the last into the semis, but is really making a good go of this, slipping into second place as Edlinger leaves them behind. Tachenko is going to make it hard for the two Germans.
Dropping significantly off the back there is Rechtenwald.
Yeah, so that only leaves Volta as a chance for Germany out of this one, and she's got a bit to do. And she has managed to get past Tachenko. Made a nice little move there, has Leonie Volta, and she's now clearly into second place. Tachenko struggling for some reason. Maybe spent a fair bit of petrol on that first significant incline. And so Tachenko back to third, and then it's Rechtenwald and Volta in a solid and comfortable looking second spot, still Edlinger out in front.
And with a guide this time as well, Lorenz Josef Lampel. But Edlinger in control of this first semi, no question. At present, it's Leonie Maria Volta and her guide Permin Strecker going through in second place. Tachenko needs to find the extra speed here over the final few turns and then into the stadium circuit. But we're racing with Edlinger there, bid 1-3-1 for Austria.
It's a relevant point about Edlinger and Guide because they parted company in the qualifying, but Lampel is sticking with her this time, albeit behind her, and he's keeping an eye over the shoulder to see where everyone else is. But Lampel and Edlinger as a combination, and they are a team, aren't they, in these events, doing the job here. And Edlinger just wants to be careful, Lampel, he doesn't create an obstruction. And now he's moved back to the front of Edlinger, and they should be safely through, and Volta as well, unless someone behind them produces a withering finish. Looks unlikely.
Edlinger has this one in the bag. Leonie Maria Volta will go for another medal. She already has 3. But it's Edlinger who led from the front here. And a comfortable victory in the end, or a comfortable qualifying berth secured in the final here of the Sprint VI for women from Karina Edlinger. And the continuingly impressive Leonie Maria Volta of Germany. No joy, I'm afraid, for Rechtenwald and Tachenko here. Yeah, all smiles. Karina Edlinger, the winner of this first semi-final.
Yeah, she's back in buoyant mood and with a taste for something here. Looks to be in good enough form. She'll have tough competition from whoever gets through in the second semi-final. Likely to be Shishkova and Kazmaier, but no certainties. Just cuts a different figure to the one who was so upset with her DNFs previously. So Edlinger through in 4:08, a second ahead of Volta of Germany. Missing out Rechtenwald and Tachenko.
Semi-final 2 in the Sprint VI, the women's Sprint VI here. Shishkova, Yang, Wang, Kazmaier, Ukraine, Germany and China in the start gate. So 3 of them are going to go off together. Shishkova, Yang and Wang. 13 Winter Paralympic medals for Oksana Shishkova, including 2 golds already here in Beijing. Then Yang Shanru, the 20-year-old, another Chinese racer. Wang Yue also goes at 0 here, and then starting 2 seconds back, the 15-year-old prodigy Lin Kazmaier. 2 silver medals in the long-distance cross-country event. And the the sprint in the biathlon. So a fascinating race awaits us here. Can the Chinese get amongst Kazmaya and Shishkova?
So just a few seconds away from the start. And away they go. Shishkova, Young and Wang. And 2 seconds later, Kazmaya. Top two to go through to the final. Women's sprint, vision impaired. And there's Kazmaya at the back of the field, but can she haul them in? Guided by Florian Baumann. Kazmaya at the back.
Yeah, Shishkova up at the front just with her guide, Andrei Marchenko. She's another who sort of gets into the rhythm, gets into the flow, and then the guide has to play second fiddle at times, really, when Shishkova really fancies it. That is the case here. She'll be a massive favourite to fill one of those top two places. Of course she will.
Kazmaya just taking a little bit of time to gather them in, but now on this climb she seems to be doing so, but there's a bit of a roadblock ahead of her, and the guide's going to do well to negotiate through here, have to pick their moment to get around the field. No problems up the front for Shishkova. That's the way to avoid the traffic. Just lead.
Yeah, breakaway of one. Oksana Shishkova up top there, the 30-year-old with this formidable winning run.
Well, they've got past Young, have Kazmaya and Baumann. But Shishkova doing it nicely out front. Looks to have a lock on one of the two spots. And Kazmaya is now closing in on Wang. So Kazmaya opting for the inside track. And just a little bit of a drop of the shoulder there, but she keeps upright and keeps forging on and into second place now. So the two Chinese athletes at the back of the field. Kazmaya, who was the second fastest qualifier and some 7 or 8 seconds faster than the Chinese competitors, doing as expected, really.
And Yang Shanru really struggling at the back there with her guide Yu Hongshun. But indeed, with Shishkova pushing on, this is going to be all about the race for a second place. And it's a race that Kazmaya has. Well, Kazmaya has found extra energy here up and past Shishkova. Wow. So there's been a change around in the 1-2 here.
Well, we saw Kazmaya sit out a race somewhat unexpectedly earlier in the program. I thought, well, at 15, we probably got to look after her, but also perhaps saving herself for a big day of sprinting. To get through and win, you're racing 3 times on the sprint day, and maybe they knew what she was capable of if they just kept her out of an earlier race. And so Kazmaya and Shishkova look to be heading to the final.
Well, sometimes it does come down to basics, doesn't it? Kazmaya is half Shishkova's age, 15 and 30, respectively. She's had a fantastic Paralympic Winter Games as Lynn Kazmaya. A real star has been unearthed for Germany at just 15.
Well, there's a couple, isn't there? I think when we think of Volta, how they're free-spirited they are, the way they compete, and just the sheer joy of racing. They're so evident on their faces, and also in their performances.
Well, it's Wang chasing down Shishkova, who's in second place currently. Has Wang Yue got a finish? I think she's run out of road here. It's going to be Kazmaya and it's going to be Shishkova who go through to the final of the women's vision impaired over the sprint distance. Well, Wang put a finish in, didn't she? But perhaps it came too late.
The German camp there giving them a good old cheer. And look, a tight team.
Yeah, and Yang Shanru over the line last, 26 seconds back. So tremendous. Lynn Kazmaier goes for another medal. There'll be 4 in the final of the women's sprint VI, and 2 of them will be German.
Smiling away down to the line. Strategically around the course. There was no rush about the work to haul them in from the rear of the field, and just breezed past Schenko there. Shishkova, beg pardon. Kazmaier and Shishkova get through. Strong finish from Wang. Came a bit late. Yang Chanru. Another day, perhaps. And confirming the qualifiers through to the final. And Edlinger, Kazmaier, Shishkova and Volta. Germany 2 in it. Going to get a medal. So we're going to move on to finals very shortly. Sitting category first of all, the final. So around 15 minutes away from a start of the 6 finals. So a bit of a pause for us all, but we do hope you don't go too far away. Zhang Jiko about to have another flurry of action as the medals are decided. Sitting, standing and vision impaired, men and women. We'll be back shortly. The Zhangjiakou National Biathlon Centre also hosting cross-country, and it is cross-country that we're focusing on today. Do hope you've got a comfortable chair, because this is going to be edge-of-the-seat stuff as we bring you the 6 finals now. Sitting, standing and vision-impaired classes, men and women. A day of intriguing racing. Some great finishes and more to come. We've whittled it down to the 6 fastest in the sitting and standing categories, and 4 each in the men's and women's finals for the vision impaired. There is the schedule for you. And, well, it's been a great day. Slightly overcast and very mild. Not much of a breeze, but the racing's hot. And we should be expecting more of that in this first of our finals, the men's sprint for the sitting category, and the course just under 1 kilometre, and there are our finalists lining up. Zheng and Mao of China, Liu and Wang, Colin Cameron of Canada, and Taras Rudd of Ukraine. So China to win between somewhere between 1 and 3 medals.
Yeah, terrific Chinese representation again on an action-packed day. 8 degrees above now, so pretty mild up on the hill. We've had 18 races thus far today. So now it all comes down to this, our 6 finals for the men and women in the 3 sporting categories. Starting with the men's sprint for sitting athletes.
Of course, skiers have been out and around to make sure everything is fine. Just finishing off to the left there, making their way down to the finish area. But it's a good-looking track. Zhang Peng may be the favourite. They're going to go to allow for their classifications at the start. Here, Zheng and Mao will go at 0. Colin Cameron at 16, and then 3 at 22 seconds. Liu, Wang and Rad.
So Zhang Peng starting at 0 then, the 29-year-olds, part of the gold medal haul for the host nation. Already a winner in the long distance race. Mao Xiangwu goes next, 35. He has a silver from that long distance event. Great. A Chinese presence again, which will delight the host fans up in the grandstand here. But what about Colin Cameron? Lightning quick in the qualifying round. He eased up a bit in his semi-final. He knew what he had to do. 33, he'll be a big medal contender. Liu Zishu, the 24-year-old, another gold medalist, that in the biathlon sprint. Wang Tao, an outlier really for the Chinese. And then Taras Rudd, a more accomplished para-biathlete, but he goes again here in a cross-country final.
So they're still getting set. They've got just under 45 seconds to think a little longer about what's happening. They're being set straight by the course officials here, but Cameron and Zheng were the winners of the 2 semi-finals. And Cameron and Rad appeared in the final 4 years ago and were just out of the medals. Cameron 4th, Rad 5th. Can they turn things around today? Rad to come from the back of the field if he's to do it. And Cameron giving up 16 seconds to Zheng and Mao at the start. Zheng and Mao are away at the start of this final for the men's sprint sitting category. And they'll be hoping to bring glory to the host nation. An anxious wait for Colin Cameron. He goes now, and then the rest of the field 6 seconds after him. So Cameron can see the job ahead.
Yeah. And this staggered start rather than the staggered finish, if you will, makes the action and the racing a little more raw, doesn't it? So they're starting at time intervals relating to their individual sporting classifications, but it means first over the line wins. And They're not looking at factored times, so the clock runs the same for everyone. That is the situation here in the first of our 6 finals in the men's sprint event, and that is Cameron giving chase. He has power in those muscles, doesn't he? He's been absolutely brilliant so far today, and already on the podium as well. Colin Cameron, earlier in these games, he was a bronze medalist in the long distance event.
Zheng and Mao keeping the order from the start, 1 and 3. Cameron in bib number 2, off to the right of our screens there. Is he hauling them in? And then quite a gap back to Liu, Wang and Taras Rad of Ukraine. Zheng and Mao racing together. Wouldn't they love a 1-2 finish in front of this grandstand at Zhangjiakou? Colin Cameron trying to have something to say about that. There's not a lot of time to do something about it either, with a course of just under a kilometre, and they've still got him well in the distance. Zheng and Mao. Zheng just to the front. Here comes Cameron. He's got a lot to do and in a hurry. Round that corner pretty efficiently. And the Canadian sets out after them.
Yeah, has Cameron got to finish in him? By the way, 6 medals in para cross country for the host nation China so far at Beijing 2022, and there have been an absolute haul of medals as well in the para biathlon. But it's a really strong finish being set up here by Cameron, closing in on Zheng and Mao as they come down the home straight.
Zheng it is in front of Mao, and Zheng has got a good clip going as well. I don't think he's going to be denied. Cameron is too far back, or is he? Zheng and Mao looking for a 1-2. Cameron trying to close the gap. Cameron off to the left there, and the line is too close. Zheng is going to do it. Will Mao get second? I think he will, just. And Cameron has to settle for third. 1-2 China, Zheng and Mao. And coming in fourth is Liu. Then Wang and Taras Rad. The pace a bit hot for him in this final. Well, they finished as they started, Zheng, Mao and Cameron.
It's another 1-2 for China. Zheng and Mao, gold and silver in the long distance event. They've done it again here in the sprint. Cameron, his second bronze of the games.
Well, we knew they were going to get at least 1 medal with 4 in the final. Well, they've picked up the top 2. So they'll be absolutely over the moon about that result.
And all 4 of the Chinese athletes celebrating. And Cameron takes a moment to just absorb another success. More medals for the host nation. A 3rd gold and a 3rd silver in the cross-country events here at Zhangjiakou.
Had it between them, Zheng and Mao. That was the start. Nothing between them really the whole way around. Racing as a 2-man team, if you like. I'm sure Mao would have loved to have passed his teammate, but if he was going to lose to anybody, let it be Zheng. Remember, prior to these games, they had never won a medal in Nordic skiing. They've won plenty now. Zheng, Mao and Cameron. China, Canada. There are your medalists in the men's sprint sitting. Women's sprint event. Still a few minutes away. So we're immediately going to have the recognition ceremony for the men's sprint. Does look like Zhang is still feeling the effects of the effort, or the emotion perhaps. Anyway, getting some love from the team and now from the crowd. Very good race from Mao. Just looking back at the semi-finals, he was 4 seconds behind Cameron in that second semi. A little too strong for him in the final. Zheng, meanwhile, a big winner in his semi over Liu and Rad, and prevailing in the final.
Well, it's the same podium as the long distance. Cameron, another bronze. Mao Zhongwu, another silver for the 35-year-old, and another gold for this man, Zhang Peng. Long distance Paralympic Winter Games champion, and now he can add the sprint.
So the men will make way for the women now. Chinese flags and a few sprinkled in there with Shui Rongrong, our Paralympic Winter Games mascot. Red, a prominent colour throughout these games. Shui Rongrong, a figure resembling a Chinese red lantern. There's Rongrong. And there's another one. The mascots you can purchase don't have the wreaths around them. That's reserved for the athletes.
We know from personal experience, don't we? Very prized possessions, very sought after items they are too. The mascots here for the games, more great memories for our medalists.
One race, one recognition ceremony down, and 5 to come. It's just a really packed day of racing. Still a couple of minutes away from the women's final, a sitting sprint. China with 3 in it, the USA 2, and a Canadian in Christina Picton. Hard to pick, except to say it's Oksana Masters who will be looking for a second consecutive Paralympic Winter Games gold in this particular event, having won it by 2 seconds 4 years ago from Andrea Eskau of Germany.
Second final then, out on the racetrack here at Zhangjiakou on this mammoth day of medal races at Beijing 2022. It's the women's sitting category, and this is the sprint final. So we've got the medalists from the long distance event here. We've got Yang, we've got Li, Gretsch, Masters, Wang and Picton of Canada. So Yang Hongxiong, she won the long distance event ahead of Oksana Masters. And Li Pan was bronze in that event. Goes again here. Yang will set off first. Li 2 seconds behind. Then it's Kendall Gretsch. Bronze in the biathlon sprint, gold in the middle distance, looking for another Winter Paralympic medal. Likewise, Oksana Masters, a gold and 2 silvers already here in Beijing. 10 Winter Paralympic Games medals all in. Wang Shiyu goes 26 seconds behind Yang, the 20-year-old. And we'll also see a Canadian in the field as well, in Christina Picton, who's done really well to reach the final. 2 biathlon events completed so far, 7th in the sprint. The 28-year-old from Canmore in Alberta. We're pretty much good to go here. Second final of the day, and it's the women's sprint.
10 seconds from the start. Yang will lead them away from Li, then Gretsch, then the back 3. Away in the women's sprint final, Yang Hongxiong, who won her semi-final. Masters at the back of the field won the second semi. Yang and Li lead it out for China. And there's this agonizing wait for Kendall Gretsch. 19 seconds behind Yang, and then at 26 seconds go Masters, Wang and Picton. They wanted to go a bit early there. Just have to hold themselves on the line, and away they go at the back. Masters, can she haul them in again?
So the pursuit is on. Gold and bronze in the long distance event, and Masters and Gretsch compete in the biathlon as well, don't they? So really experienced, know what it takes to get to the front of the field in Winter Paralympic Games finals. Of course, not long on from their Summer Paralympic Games exploits last year. Gold medals were forthcoming in that event as well.
Picton's moved ahead of Wang at the back of the field. It's about the chase, really, though, that's on for Masters. She's moved past Gretsch and now just has the 2 from China, Yang and Li, in front of her. And it'll be their job to try and hold her off.
Well, in the men's final, which was the first to get underway on the snow here, it was China 1 and 2 in that race. Another significant medal haul beckons for the host nation here, and what has been a groundbreaking event for the Chinese para-Nordic sporting scene. Can they do it? Can they hold on?
Oh, it's Masters starting to make inroads on Yang and Li.
So Li in second place at present behind Yang. Just watch out indeed for the 32-year-old Oksana Masters. She's got 13 on the bib. She's a heck of a finisher. And those 3 medals already at these games will stand her in good stead. They're pushing up the hill.
She's got to make a good tight turn here, no mistakes. Up slightly onto one ski and almost stopped in the tracks there. There's a long downhill section where it's hard to make up any ground on Yang and Li. So Masters, the job ahead of her.
Well, coming out of that downhill section, still in the lead here, Yang Hongxiong. Oh, here comes Masters taking on Li. I think she's got round the outside. Does Yang have the staying power up to the line? Start of the finish straight. Here come the lift in the decibel levels. It's Oksana Masters powering on. Has she got the finish? It's Masters Closing down on Yang here, but Yang has the lead. Is it going to be a double gold medal winning performance?
Masters is flying home. Yang looking for everything she's got. The line is too close. Yang is going to do it for China, and Masters must settle for second.
It's another gold for Yang. It's a third silver of these games for Oksana Masters. And it looks like Lee is just going to get there in third. Yes, she is. Ahead of Wang, ultimately. And down the order, Kendall Gretsch didn't have a finish in her. It's two more medals for China. It's Yang and Lee with Masters in the middle. It's a replication of the podium from the long-distance event, as happened in the men's.
So Masters goes over and congratulates the race of Picton and Gretsch. Meanwhile, for China, it's a 1 and 3. Yang and Lee.
No, it wasn't. Not one of them misclassified.
She just lost a tiny bit on that hairpin bend, did Masters. I don't know if it would have made the difference. The margin 1.7 seconds, but just lost a little bit of pace at that crucial moment. In the end, Young too good and the line too close. Certainly was tiring towards the end, made a couple of not technically sound pushes, Young. She was exhausted by the finish. Did a nice job around that bend. That's the one I'm talking about with Masters, maybe not taking it as quickly as she would have liked. So we'll have the recognition ceremony for the women's sprint in just a moment.
Excuse me.
Yes. No.
More medals for China.
Masters. Well, assume she'll be back in a moment, Masters. Confirming the result for you. Yang of China, Masters of the United States, and Lee of China. Masters not happy about something there, going past. There was actually an extra Chinese competitor there, Wang, just celebrating with her teammates. Masters just pushing through, and we'll hope to have her back in a second. Perhaps wanting a tracksuit or something.
那天你们说过去我也说，因为我知道你经历。他们跟我说了，老师，老师。老师，我终于没有辜负你们的辛苦。我的啊。老师，别哭。
Yeah, so Yang and Lee, they're ready to go, but still no sign of Oksana Masters.
So perhaps Masters not feeling too good after giving absolutely everything in that that sprint final. She may be unwell. Hopefully be back in a moment for the scheduled recognition ceremony.
老师现在不冷。
Until we hear otherwise, we can't really tell you what this delay might be about.
你怎么那么厉害，转一个也能把他给干了？
Was that not too much push got out of that right pole that time, as just missed the mark. But it didn't matter in the end for Young. Here comes Masters, and back into position. Needed to, first of all, get a mask, which she's done. Recognition ceremony for the women's sprint. Young, Masters and Lee. So the bronze medal goes to Lee Pan Pan. Couldn't hold off Masters in the straight, but did hold off the others. Wang, Gretsch and Picton.
Another silver, her third of the Games. Oksana Masters, 11th Winter Paralympic Games medal overall. But the champion, as she was in the long distance event, Yang Hongxiong of China. Now that's a pair of golds already for the host nation. On this mammoth day of finals, it takes their medal haul to 10 and 4 golds in the cross-country alone.
Masters wants to wrap it up now and invited to do so as Young and Lee exit the area. There's more races to come. They want to hold up the schedule. So as the mascots are collected and displayed, we're not far away from our next final, the third of 6 in this busy afternoon. And here is the field. The men's sprint standing freestyle. And we've got athletes from France, Kazakhstan, China, Ukraine, Germany and Norway. It's going to be a good one. Benjamin Davier of France, Alexander Gerlitz of Kazakhstan, Tsai Jae-yun of China, Grigory Vovshinsky, Marco Meyer, Kjartan Haugen of Ukraine, Germany and Norway. And it will be Davier who leads them away, 3 seconds ahead of Gerlitz, and then going on 5 seconds the rest of the field.
Gerlitz, bronze medal in the mid-distance race. That was in the biathlon earlier in these games. So he'll go 3 seconds back on Davier, who will be the first starter. And we are underway here with Benjamin Davier, the 32-year-old. It's going to be a fast, frantic start. You're watching the final of the men's sprint for the standing athletes in the freestyle technique. It is Davier, a 5-time world champion. He got 2 biathlon gold medals in Pyeongchang, 6 Winter Paralympic medals all in, and 3 golds. Leads the field away here over this sprint distance. So 6 athletes in the race, 6 nations represented. Meyer pushing on there ahead of Grigory Vovshinsky, and at the back Kjartan Haugen at 47. Great to see him in another Winter Paralympic final. He's been going since 1998 in Nagano, has Haugen, but that's Davier, the 32-year-old for France, leading the field. 32 Gerlitz.
May not be doing it for long. Gerlitz's teammate or fellow countryman Alexander Kolyadin won this event 4 years ago, and Vovshinsky finished 6th. Davier is the one who has to be caught. There's Vovshinsky, and Davier has Tsai not too far behind him, and the rest in pursuit of Tsai. Davier, can he hold on? Goodness, there's a great pace being set by Tsai Jae-yun. Will be inspired by what's happened in earlier races. And Germany's Meyer also looks to have a good pace going. Maybe a bit too hot for Hagen at the back.
Vovshinsky positioning himself as well. A gold medalist in the biathlon sprint and silver in the middle distance also in biathlon. Davier still at the front of the field, the 32-year-old Benjamin Davier from Le Grand Bornand in France. Underwhelming performances so far in the biathlon events here at Zhangjiakou. He was at 6th in the middle distance, just off the podium in the biathlon sprint. He finished 4th there, and he has to hold off the chasing pack.
Yeah, Meyer and Vovshinsky have gone past Tsai Jae-yun, and now they can set out after Davier. So it's really looking like Vovshinsky and Meyer are going to have a say in this. How far ahead is Davier still? He's well into this descent, and the straight is not too far away, but nor are Vovshinsky and Meyer. Meyer in 2nd place at the moment. Is the gap too big? Is Davier tiring?
Just up the mound and into the finishing straight now. It's all about Davier. Has a little look over his right shoulder. Looks to have got it, actually, Davier. Every straining sinew now. It really hurts, but it's Davier up to the line first, and it's Meyer who's going to come in for another silver medal. Vovshinsky gets the bronze. Davier led from the front, a super race, and he did have the sprint. He had the energy and the stamina for another Winter Paralympic Games gold medal, his 4th. Davier, formidable for France.
Yes, 1.3 seconds. Meyer, he looked a little disappointed as he came across the line, not quite doing it. Well, tears in the family and the support team for Davier. Marco Meyer. And Davier congratulates Vovshinsky, who's finished a little better than 4 years ago, where there was actually a tie for third. Davier does it, 3:07.5.
Nice race.
Nice race. Yeah, well done. Good spirit from Maya towards Davier. Well, if he was briefly disappointed, he's happy now, is Marco Maya. It's a wonderful achievement, a second place in a Paralympic final that has to dip the lid, as it were, to Benjamin Davier today. Oh, he held on, barely. What a finish. It should be close, over just 1.4 kilometers, and it was.
France, Germany, Ukraine are 1, 2 and 3 in the sprint event here. First individual a title at the Winter Paralympic Games for Benjamin Davier, and he did it wire to wire here, holding off Marco Maya. Another silver after he finished second in the biathlon sprint event, and Wojcinski completes the set. Already a gold and a silver from earlier in these games. He now has the bronze, Grigory Wojcinski.
Just that half second separating second and third. Possibly it's not best practice to be sharing a water bottle, but I think in the heat of battle and how well they know each other, they're happy to do so. And Davier, it's great to see the smiles. As we keep saying, fierce competitors on the track, good friends off it. Oh, there I go. Had my back turned to what was going on here. Is all good. I'm impressed how quickly Marco Maya turned his mood around. There was that just 1 second of disappointment as he came across the line in second position, and then, all right, that's okay. Davier too good. I'm happy with second. I'll do my best. And Wojcinski, well, what a career.
More medals for the collection of Grigory Wojcinski. A third of these games and a sixth all in terms of the Winter Paralympic Games. Marco Maya, another silver after his biathlon sprint second place, turning into a very productive games for the German Para-Nordic squad. But on the board, the first medal for the French. Davier, our Winter Paralympic Games champion in the men's sprint standing.
There's no sign of Tsai Jia-yun in the top three, having won his semi-final, finishing fourth in this one. Can't say enough about the great spirit shown by these three men towards each other, their respect for the race, competition, for Paralympic Winter Games sport. Maya was third in his semi, but you didn't read too much into that. He was coasting down knowing he was safely into the final and second in that final behind Davier and ahead of Wawczynski. Our next final, just 2 or 3 minutes away. It'll be the women's sprint standing. Athletes from the USA, China, Canada, Norway, and Ukraine. And following that, the 2 vision-impaired finals. It's the women's sprint standing, free technique, and the final draws together athletes from Europe, Asia, and North America. And 2 from Ukraine there, Kononova and Lyushenko will go away last with Vilda Nielsen of Norway, and Natalie Wilkie of Canada. Is she the favourite? Maybe, but Nielsen will have something to say about it. So too Zhao Shiqing will go at 3 seconds, and Sydney Peterson of the United States first. In the middle of the field there, here she is, having a very good games. Was second in her semi-final behind Nielsen. Zhao was third in her semi behind Wilkie and Kononova. China doing so very well on this hectic day of cross-country competition. Wilkie standing on the second line there behind Peterson. And Vilda Nielsen, who won that second semi-final ahead of Peterson and Lyushenko. Just not sure that Lyushenko or Kononova, going away at the same time as Nielsen and Wilkie, have got the pace to feature in the top 3. Happy to be proved wrong, and that's the glorious unpredictability of sport that draws us back again and again. 20 seconds away from a start.
Three finals down. 3 to go.
Peterson to go first.
The 20-year-old sets off. Silver medalist in the long distance event. She's had a real breakthrough performance here at these Paralympic Winter Games. Only started competing internationally at the recent World Champs in Lillehammer. The rest set off. It was Zhao Zhiying out second, the 24-year-old from China. But watch out for Natalie Wilkie, the 37 on the bib, the 21-year-old Canadian. Already a gold medalist, and Vilde Nielsen as well from Norway, who is the world champion in this sprint event.
Zhao has gone out very quickly and very hard to the cheers of the crowd here at Zhangjiakou and has overtaken Peterson in no time at all. But Peterson has got great staying power, even over these shorter events, not to be discounted. And Vilde Nielsen has left Wilkie well behind. And this is a very good start for Nielsen. We'll see if the Norwegian can carry it through. But it really did look like Zhao had great purpose about her start as she disappears up the hill.
Yeah, Zhao not messing around at the front of the field, hitting the lead early, and now it's all about pacing it and bringing it home. She won a bronze medal in the biathlon sprint event, so marksmanship not required here. It's all about raw pace and power over this sprint distance. 37. That's Natalie Wilkie looking to contribute to what's been an excellent games for the Canadians so far. She has a gold from the long distance cross-country event, but has work to do. That's Peterson coming round the bend. She dropped off the start early and now down into third place. It's Vilde Nielsen who's moved up into second and really hot on the heels now of Zhao Zhiying, our world champion from Norway, coming round the outside and looking to get the front ahead of Zhao Zhiying. It's Vilde Nielsen who moves into the lead, our world champion.
And Peterson in third position, and here comes Wilkie of Canada. So Wilkie just steps off to the left to make the passing move on the American, and it would be Nielsen looking to make amends for the second place she had 4 years ago in Pyeongchang, and it was Natalie Wilkie third that day. So things are about to be turned on their head with the results here as Nielsen really starts to gap the field. She's hauled in Zhao, who went out a bit too hard too early, it would seem, and others are starting to pass the Chinese competitor. It's all about Nielsen at the front. And Wilkie has moved into second. Peterson also moves past Zhao.
Zhao went out so strongly, like an absolute whip it out of the blocks here. It doesn't look like she's been able to maintain the pace. So it is Vilde Nielsen looking for the World Championship and Paralympic Winter Games double in the space of, what, 8.5 weeks. Those recent world champs in Lillehammer, where she brought delight to home faithful. Peterson, by the way, was second in that event. Lyashenko, the bronze medalist, absolutely nowhere here. It is still Nielsen, but Wilkie has made a surge. Not long to go now, but look at Wilkie closing in on Vilde Nielsen, now taking the outside line. Peterson still holding on to third place, but it's Wilkie who's come round Nielsen. It's going to be a straight shootout down the home straight. I think Nielsen just about still has it. Who has the sprint finish? Is it Nielsen or is it Wilkie? They're running out of road.
And Peterson in third place. What a finish coming up here. Wilkie has just got it covered at the moment, and Wilkie coming down to the line. Nothing that Nielsen can do at this late stage, and she's going to have to settle for second. Wilkie
double gold for Wilkie, the long distance champion, and she adds the sprint event. Superb for Canada. What a finish from Natalie Wilkie. Nielsen just didn't have it in the end, but Peterson, another Winter Paralympic podium.
Well, so true is it that you only have to be in front once, and the timing of the run from Natalie Wilkie, exquisite. Just a perfect race and a perfect result for Natalie Wilkie, the 21-year-old. Well, it's a day for the youth, isn't it? Wilkie and Nielsen at 21, Peterson at 20. With the stamina, with the speed. And we didn't really spot Kononova and Lyashenko. Pace a bit hot for them.
Nielsen absolutely ruined at the end. She gave it everything. She just couldn't hold off Natalie Wilkie when it came down to it.
There they are on the big screen seeing themselves. That's always a bit of a shock and then a pleasure. They hauled in Zhao. That was the first assignment. She just went out too hard, I guess. Zhao Shifeng, that would be the suggestion after they just breezed past her, and it looked to be Nielsen's to lose. But Wilkie was going to have something to say about it and left it to the straight to do it. Here are the strides that mattered. Nielsen digging deep, Wilkie a bit deeper and a bit harder and a bit faster.
And it still seemed that she had plenty in the tank as she crossed the line. Wilkie, well, she won a gold in Pyeongchang 4 years ago. That was in the 7.5K. And she has double gold now, 4 years on in Beijing.
A quick post-mortem there for the medalists. It's Natalie Wilkie of Canada, Vilda Nielsen of Norway, and Sydney Peterson of the United States. 1, 2, 3, the women's standing free technique final. Oh, it's a good one.
Brilliant racing, that. Agreed.
The plot twists in that race, be it ever so short, quite complex. I love these stories with no plot. It just happens in front of you, and just follow what happens.
And they're also close off the racetrack as well, aren't they? Great camaraderie at the end. And we'll see a recognition ceremony at the end of that the women's standing sprint final in pretty short order here. The medal is awarded later. But a chance for the athletes to stand in front of the crowd and enjoy the moment and just let the success sink in.
I think what we overheard was Nielsen saying to Wilkie, "Oh, it was just too much. It was just too much for me." And can leave the skis behind, apparently. That's getting that sorted. Oh, don't let them fall. They're a bit precious. So Wilkie's upgraded bronze to gold in 4 years in this race. And Nielsen, a second silver. Remarkable story, Wilkie, really. That accident that she had at school that resulted in injury to her hand. 2 years later, she turns up at Pyeongchang at 17 and now at 21. A very mature winner.
On the podium again, Sydney Peterson. That's a great smile. Just lights up the surroundings here. just couldn't bring the world champs form. Another gold medal, but silver. Still terrific for Vilde Nielsen. And then our winner of the women's sprint race for standing athletes, it's Canada and Natalie Wilkie jumping for joy. Oh, Canada again, her second gold of the Games. Indeed, that upgrade from third in Korea Republic 4 years ago.
So they can make their way off and answer some questions, get some photos taken and enjoy the moment. 2 more finals to come. I wouldn't say Wilkie makes it look easy, but it looks like it's no big emotional deal. She's just happy.
Another nation added to the medals table with Norway. And on we go. We're now into the vision impaired category. The men's final over the sprint distance is next on the programme. It's been a rip-snorting day. We're going to see Chalinson, Modin, Adikoff and McKeever, and the Canadian superstar Brian McKeever looks for his 4th consecutive Winter Paralympic title in this event, the men's VI sprint. Sebastian Modin of Sweden already has a medal. He won the bronze medal in the long distance event. Couldn't quite get up to McKeever. The Chalinson was a quick qualifier with his guy Brice Ottanello. Jake Adikoff as well, lightning quick in the earlier rounds. The qualifying and the semi-final, silver medalist in the long distance event. Behind this guy, Brian McKeever, wants his golden goodbye, guided by Russell Kennedy. And it is so far so good for the man who has 18th Winter Paralympic medals so far in his career.
About 30 seconds away from a start, and it will be Chalinson and Modin who have a 21-second advantage as they leave the gate. Adikoff and McKeever will go together at 21 seconds. So 4 in the final. Chalinson and Modin in the B1 classification. B3, Adikoff and McKeever. Chalinson in 1-2-3 and Modin in 1-2-4. Away they go. And 21 seconds, will it be enough to hold off the likes of McKeever and Adikoff? Well, in McKeever's case, probably not. We'll see. It's only 1.4 Ks, and Modin has power. Chalinson had a classy semi-final, but McKeever, such a prodigious winner. Can Adikoff keep pace with him? And how long until they haul in either Chalinson or Modin? Can they do it at all? It's quite a distance from here, but they're fast at the back. Adikoff and McKeever, who pre-race looked like he didn't have a care in the world. It's just business as usual. Let me at it.
Well, he just knows what it takes. Been competing for the last 2 decades at the Paralympic Winter Games. First gold medal arrived in Salt Lake City all of 20 years ago, and just a crazy run of success at World Champs and Paralympic Winter Games. He does specialise in the cross country. He's been a world champion in biathlon in years gone by, but it is the cross country ski that brings the best out of the man born in Calgary, lives in Canmore these days.
It's Chalençon leading Modin, and then that distance back to the chasers Adikoff and Makiva. Adikoff leading Makiva up the first hill, and perhaps Makiva just biding his time for the challenge. They are starting to catch them. Adikoff and Makiva, a race in two as they haul in Chalençon and Modin. Modin in second place, and they're very quickly gathering them in. Adikoff, Makiva at the back of the field. He never stays there for too long. They're just being careful about the passing manoeuvres and stepping to one side. Modin allowing them through. He can't hold them off and is making sure there's no collision. Chalençon yet to be caught.
Well, looking at this race cold, you would think it would be Adikoff, Modin, and of course Makiva holding off Chalençon, and here comes the move. Makiva moving through in this VI final men's sprint event, and all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, Chalençon drops to the back of the field. Makiva has to make a burst at some point. Up ahead of him is Adikoff.
Adikoff is not worried about the reputation of Makiva. He really wants to try and stretch the famous Canadian. And Makiva, has he got something left for this run to the line? Will it be Makiva again? He nearly lost his balance there. Makiva steps out beside Adikoff and passes him. Oh, he's got plenty in reserve. The years and years of training and success come down to this again. The home straight, Makiva's going to do it once more. Is he tired? Well, he says he is, but he doesn't look like it. Makiva waltzing away with it for yet another Paralympic Winter Games medal. It's number 15.
Absolutely outstanding. Goodness me, like a walk in the park. Makiva, at 42 years young, has done it again, and he wins this sprint event for the 4th successive Winter Paralympic Games.
Adikoff tried so hard to make it a different story, wasn't able to do so, and Modin comes in third, and Chalençon just out of the medals, but joy for the Swede to pick up that third place. Hello, seen this before. Makiva, the winner. Russell Kennedy, his guide. What a patient race they skied.
Just sit back and admire the race management, and picking that time again to make the move. And as you said, coming over the line with so much in the tank still. Makiva just magnificent again. Well, said it's going to be his last games. Will it be? We'll have to wait and see. Does he fancy another tilt at Milano Cortina in 4 years' time? We'll have to see.
I don't think he fancies the training. He says he's not fussed about the medals. We know that, as Modin tries to gather himself and get up off the deck. Chalençon likewise in the background there. You can spend a lot of energy in a couple of minutes in this caper. 3 minutes 19 for Makiva's winning time. I really admire the effort of Adikoff. He just knew he had to go full tilt at it if he was to have any chance of the upset. Makiva too good. There was the move on Chalençon. He did well to hold them off as long as he did, but Adikoff and Makiva just swept past, and then it was a race in two until the last 20 metres, and it was a race in one, won by the wonderful Makiva. Adikoff, oh, he just tried so hard. You can see the race plan. I'm not going to die wondering. I'm going to take it to this man. Makiva's had all the answers for so long. And a little acknowledgement there to his guide in Russell Kennedy. Chalençon is up, receives the congratulations from Makiva. Well done. Well, ever the gentleman. And McKeever. He doesn't just exit the sport if that's his choice with medals, but a great reputation.
Confirmation then of a repeat podium. It's the same as in the 20K. McKeever with the gold, Adikov with the silver, and Sweden's Sebastian Modin with the bronze medal. Chalençon finishes fourth.
Just organising the athletes for our next recognition ceremony. This, the men's vision impaired sprint that we've just observed. I don't think McKeever, you would never say he was bored with winning. He just doesn't, he's got nothing left to prove though, has he?
Yeah, completely right. Pressure's off.
He's invincible.
He's had his successes down the years at the World Champs as well, we know that. But of course the Canadians were mothballed really for the recent World Champs. They decided not to send a squad to Lillehammer, kept them fresh, kept them safe, kept them away from COVID. And it's all panned out, ideally. And in quick succession, Canadian golds, Natalie Wilkie. And then Brian McKeever here, celebrating another first place at the Paralympic Winter Games. Sebastian Modin takes another bronze for Sweden.
Yes, Modin silver in Pyeongchang in the sprint.
Been winning medals at Winter Paralympic Games since 2010 as Sebastian Modin. 8th the Paralympic Winter Games medal, all in for the Swedes.
He's unlucky to find himself in the same era as McKeever, but he can keep going, Modin. I guess the same can be said for Adikov, but if these guys persist when McKeever hangs up the skis, then it'll be a new game.
You just nailed it, really. Misfortune to be around in the same era. It's another silver for Adikov, second of these games. He had a second as well in Pyeongchang, but nobody can get near the magic man. The golden goodbye is panning out for Brian McKeever. Yet again, wins a Winter Paralympic race for the 15th time and for the 4th time in a row in the sprint.
Well, as we've told the story, 2010, he was all but selected into the Olympic team for Canada, Vancouver, and left out at the last minute. It was a crushing blow for him at the time, but his Paralympic record, well, can't be matched in this sport, in this category. Just one race to come on this hectic but highly enjoyable day at Zhangjiakou. was pretty chuffed to find himself centre of attention in the Super Bowl with that he made with his brother Robin. There's an audience of billions understanding and appreciating what these athletes are about.
So back on the start line then are 4 athletes competing in the women's VI final over the sprint distance. Austria, Ukraine, and 2 Germans in the mix here. Karina Edlinger, Oksana Shishkova, Leonia Maria Walter, and Lynn Kazmaier, with their respective guides, Lorenz Joseph Lamp, Andrei Machenko, Permin Strecker, and Florian Baumann. Edlinger has been quick as lightning in the earlier rounds, qualifying and semi-final. It's the day when it's all come together for her. Shishkova, the Ukrainian, looks for more medals. She has 3 already, including 2 golds. She won the long distance event. Leonia Maria Walter, at just 18, has had a fantastic games as well. Gold and 2 bronzes for her. And then Lynn Kazmaier too, at just 15, has a pair of silvers. She was second in the long distance event and second in the biathlon sprint too.
Still some 40 seconds away from a start. It will be Kazmaier who goes away last. She concedes 2 seconds to Edlinger, Shishkova and Walter. She being a B3 category vision impaired athlete. Edlinger, Shishkova and Walter B2. Clock ticking down on your right there. Just 10 seconds to go. Last race of the day. Let's hope for a good one and no incidents and a great finish.
Yeah, the final athletes to bring fire to the ice on this jam-packed day of action at the Zhangjiakou National Biathlon Centre. This is the women's sprint vision impaired final. 4 athletes in the mix here, so one will leave heartbroken, one will leave without a medal. We have Edlinger, we have Walter, we have Kazmaier and Shishkova in the mix. Shishkova would have been the big favourite, 4th Paralympic Winter Games appearance, 2 bronze medals in the sprint at Sochi and Pyeongchang. 30 years of age now. Can she upgrade here?
Shishkova leads them up the hill the first time and only time of this particular hill. Edlinger settles into 2nd place, and then Walter and Kazmaier with a bit to do from the back. And in fact, it's Walter who's already dropped to the tail of the field, and Kazmaier has passed her. So Walter finding the early pace a bit quick, but might recover. You see, Shishkova takes them out, and Edlinger is right there. Got to be very careful. There's no mistakes in overtaking if she can make the move. Here is Kazmaier trying to close the gap. It's Shishkova, Edlinger shuffling out to the side. Edlinger leaving the guide behind. Not for the first time.
We see that quite a bit with our vision impaired athletes into the groove, and then it's I'll take it on, thank you very much. So a real dig up the hill, just a chance to gain some traction and hit the front of the field for Karina Edlinger. 1-3-3 behind, that's Oksana Shishkova, and it's still the 2 Germans at the back there. Kazmaier, and bringing up the rear, struggling a bit, I think.
Yes.
The only Maria Walter.
I think that climb seemed to test her. I was just thinking prior to the race that it's one thing at the age of 18 to race on consecutive days, but 3 times in a day, do you have the experience and the recovery to make a strong showing in the final. Well, Karina Edlinger is certainly doing that at 23. A bit more experience. Shishkova settles in, grabs the stock of Mashenko, the guide. Has to let go for the climb. Edlinger needs to be caught. Starting to put a bit of a gap between herself and Shishkova, and then Kazmaier. And not long to go now.
Edlinger still holding the lead here. That gives you an idea of the distance that Shishkova has to make up. An opportunity to pick up speed, heading the hill, do the work for you, and then it'll be down the second dip there and into the stadium part of the course. The end is in sight, and it's looking good for Edlinger. The little look round to check the gap back to Shishkova. It's Edlinger, Austria, to get a gold medalist here in the women's sprint VI event. It's Edlinger being cheered home with her guide, Lawrence Joseph Lamport.
He's happy to sit in behind and keep an eye on what's going on behind, because Edlinger has got it done here. She can't be caught. They've got an interesting technique between them, and it's a winning one as Edlinger comes down to the line to claim the gold and punch the air in triumph, the Austrian. And Shishkova coming through in second. And it'll be Kazmaier for Germany to get the bronze. Well, Edlinger, it's really been a roller coaster ride at these games, with true disappointment in other races, the biathlon, and yet her recovery for this final and right through the day has been something to behold and enjoy.
Four-time world champion. Now she is a Winter Paralympic champion, Karina Edlinger. Well, another medal for Germany. Shishkova just had a little too much to do, but she has another medal, her fourth of these games, a second silver, but it's a first gold here in Beijing 2022 for Karina Edlinger.
And that concludes the racing for the day. My goodness, haven't we seen some competition? Some marvellous racing. And Edlinger races off. Shishkova looked good early. And then Edlinger waves goodbye, not just to Shishkova, but her guide for the moment. It's a curious strategy they have. Sometimes he's in front, sometimes trailing. But Lawrence Lampel, he seems to know what's best. And between them, they've got it all worked out. More than a bit happy. Confirmation then, it is Karina Edlinger of Austria taking out the women's sprint vision impaired from Oksana Shishkova of Ukraine, and then Lynn Kazmaier of Germany. A little off the pace today, Leonie Walter, but she's had other moments in these games, and she's been a marvellous competitor and has done well to make the final. Shishkova doing a little race post-mortem with the guide there. So I did my best. Maybe it was over there, maybe it was up there, but in the end, Edlinger too good. Just seem to be missing Kazmaier at the moment to join the recognition party. There she is. So they'll be acknowledged in front of the crowd here on this very mild day at Zhangjiakou.
Great moments then as our athletes are saluted. So on the right of your picture there, Lynn Kazmaier. What about this? A third medal at age just 15. She had a pair of silvers and now a bronze in the sprint. Lynn Kazmaier adding to the German tally. Florian Baumann, the guide, as well. Arms held aloft. The bronze is Germany's in the women's VI sprint. Well, it's yet another medal for Shishkova. Andrei Marchenko, the guides, more than doing his bit as well. Of course, 2 golds and now a second silver. What has been a fabulously successful and productive games for Oksana Shishkova. But Austria on the podium, and not just that, on the top spot of the podium, thanks to Karina Edlinger, a couple of DNFs in biathlon. And look at the emotion as she celebrates the gold medal in the women's sprint.
Well, wiping away the tears before the name was announced. She's just really riding what's happened here. Oh, can't believe it. It has happened. Can't keep it in sometimes. Why bother? Just let it all out. All the training, all the stress, all the travel, all the sacrifices. They can be worth it.
Well, and after this mammoth day of racing.
Quick word with Nilsson there. These competitors, of course, run into each other constantly at World Cup, World Championship and Paralympic events.
The programme takes a breather up at Zhangjiakou for 24 hours. We'll return with the final para-biathlon races. And in terms of the cross-country, middle distance events are to come, and the relays to round off the programme here. What a day. 5 hours solid of racing.
Well, Paralympic sport doesn't come much better, if any better, than what we've seen today at Zhangjiakou. Whittled down to 6 finals, spoils shared amongst 4 nations. France and Austria had victories, so too China and Canada, a couple each. And the nature of the competition was just totally engaging, really enjoyable. Hope you found it that way as well.
Yeah, nothing quite like sprint racing, is there? So the programme takes a break after this terrific day of racing. 4 more medals for the host nation, China, a couple of them gold. Makiva wins again too. And a couple of extra medals into the mix for Ukraine. Thanks for your company. We'll see you again very soon here at Zhangjiakou. But take a break before the resumption of the programme in para-biathlon, and then a little later to come, the middle distance races in cross-country and the relays. For now, though, it's bye-bye.